am Alexander B. Stevens. This is What Is He Thinking? I'd like to welcome you to the podcast that doesn't perpetrate a fraud or tell you comforting lies, but instead gives you productive and constructive truths for the benefit of women from the perspective of men. I'd like to welcome you to the podcast that doesn't perpetrate a fraud or tell you comforting lies, but instead tells you constructive and productive truths for the benefit of your love life. The sound of the voice you are hearing is that of Alexander B. Stevens. This is the What Is He Thinking podcast, and I would like to welcome you to the final episode of the marriage series and episode number 21 overall of the podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about the top reasons men get married. What are the top reasons that men do get married? We started off the marriage series in episode number 14 with why men are reluctant to marry. We transitioned in episodes 15 and 16 to talking to a married female friend of mine about her perspective on dating, relationships, and marriage. Then in the following 4 episodes, we talked of 2 different foursomes of married men about their perspectives, opinions, and advice in regards to dating, relationships, and marriage. And we're going to close things out today here in episode number 21 with the reasons why men do get married. Now, the reasons that I'm about to go into are in no particular order because for each individual man, the hierarchy of reasons that I'm about to describe could be and probably are different and unique to that individual. Lastly, the reasons that I'm about to give are anecdotal in nature. I gathered them from eyewitness accounts, hearsay, and my own intellect and opinions. I did not survey 1,000 people to get this list that I'm about to present to you. That being said, I'm pretty sure that if you took a poll or a survey of the closest 10 men in your life, friends, family, things of that nature, they pretty much would echo many of the same things that I'm about to tell you this episode. Enough with the disclaimers and the pleasantries. Let's get into it. The first reason I'm going to talk about today as to why men marry is that they marry for romantic love and romantic companionship. They marry for love and companionship. There are some men out there that really view marriage the same way many women do. They view it from an emotional lens. They view it from a perspective that marriage is the ultimate apex of expressing your love toward one another. The highest level of emotional monogamous commitment. It's the strongest connection and the highest title, highest level, highest honor that you can give somebody you're madly in love with. So they daydream about the day that they could find a woman who is worthy of receiving that title and joining lives with, sharing your love with the world. When they find that person and fall head over heels, it's just a matter of time, 24 months or less, and they will be walking down the aisle. Not all men are rational robots. Some really do live life through their feelings, make decisions based off emotional connections, and some really do believe in the Disney fairy tale, the Disney Hallmark rom-com essence of love. That being said, I must be honest. In my opinion, most men, reason number 1 isn't reason enough to get married. For most men, there must be some practical, rational reason that also supports him marrying a young lady. On paper, it must look right. Not only that, but for most men, there must also be a third reason supporting the decision of marrying a woman. What reason is that, you might ask? Well, continue to listen to the podcast. It's typically going to be at least one of the following reasons that I'm going to go over today in this episode. The next reason why men get married in 2021 is external pressure. Who applies this pressure? Well, it could be coming from his significant other. It could be coming from his friends and family, or it could be coming from the religious faith that he believes in and holds dear to. Let's start off with pressure coming from his significant other. Men, we dream about being with our dream girl, the girl that's for us. We dream about being together with her. We don't necessarily always dream about a wedding, nor do we necessarily always dream about being married to her. As long as we are together with her and she's the girl of our dreams, the girl that we desire, the girl that checks the most boxes out of all the girls we've met, we're happy. But being together isn't enough for many women. Many women dream of their wedding day. Many women want to be married. So if a man who is perfectly happy with a woman and he's with her for 5, 6, 7, 10 years, as time goes on, many women are going to indirectly and then eventually directly and overtly going to start applying pressure to him, tightening the screws on him in order to get him to drop to one knee and present her with a ring of significant heritage and get married. Some women might nag. Other women might present an ultimatum, but regardless of the technique, many women, after 5 years together with a man, are going to start really pushing for marriage. He loves his woman. He really likes the situation that they have together. He might even love the projections of their future together. He doesn't want to see her unhappy. So eventually he will succumb to this pressure and give her what she wants, even though in his own mind, he could take it or leave it as long as they're together. Next, let's talk about pressure from friends and family. If this individual man has mostly married friends, then of course they're gonna push for marriage indirectly or directly. Partially because their wives would be more comfortable with their husbands hanging out with another married man as opposed to a single man who could be a bad influence on him. But also, birds of a feather like to flock together. If one of his friends is a part of the group of married individuals, if they're in that club, then his married friend is going to want him to join the same group that he is a part of, so they can have more shared experiences together and be able to relate on a different level. Let's transition to family pressure. Every parent has dreams of when they can become a grandparent. And if things are done in order, which is how they dream things of being done, then their kid must get married before he has kids and gives them legitimate grandchildren. So in a parent's rush to join the next stage of their life and be able to enjoy grandkids, once they see a decent prospect that one of their kids can marry, they're going to want to apply a little pressure to go on ahead and make sure that that marriage happens sooner rather than later. Siblings. If a sibling has seen you bring different individuals in and out of their lives that they view as trash, and then they finally meet somebody that they like, and they can see themselves being a sister or brother-in-law to this individual, then they're surely going to want to make sure that this individual that you brought into their life stays in their life because they like them so much. So they want you to go ahead and tie the knot and make things official and as permanent as we can make it in our current culture. Now let's talk about pressure from one's religious faith. All right. That's all you're going to get right now on this video. If you want to listen to the continuation and the conclusion of this episode, or if you want to listen to one of my many other interesting and educational podcast episodes, I'm going to need you to open up your favorite podcast hosting platform and search What Ozzy He Thinking. Look for the podcast by the same name as this one, and you can enjoy the rest of the episode. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Stitcher, Amazon Music. You can find the podcast everywhere. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for new topics for me to discuss, please shoot me an email at whatozzyhethinking@gmail.com. And never forget, I'm not here to tickle your ear. My only goal is to tell you what you need to know.